Greetings fellow Earthlings and welcome to this tiny garage. Welcome back everybody. Now for those of you just joining us, I bought this Porsche 911 pre-broken on Craigslist just to see if I could fix it. I'm not a mechanic, my day job is very far removed from the world of mechanics, though I've always been interested in cars and I thought this was an opportunity to try to learn how they tick. Now any of you that have been watching these episodes I hope would agree that we've learned a tremendous amount about the internal combustion engine and Porsche 911 specifically, even to the point of rebuilding the engine and getting it to run for a few hundred miles, only to find that we had a vacuum leak which we fixed last week and a couple of oil leaks which we need to get to today. Accompanied by a strong dose of deja vu, here we are taking the mufflers off again. Not too tricky really, just this 17mm here, loosen that up. And then on the muffler itself there's 3 13mm on this little muffler mount jobberoo. And that's it, it just comes off. Much easier than the first time because I completely screwed that up first time. Then we need to take the muffler mount off itself so we can gain more access to the cylinder head. That just has 2 13mm on the bottom. And then 2 more 13mm on the top, and they are different lengths, so you do want to keep them separate. Unplugging that coil pack helps make some space there to get the mount out, ultimately. Next then, we have the heat shield for the coil packs. That just has these 2 H5s. They're actually the old coil pack bolts from the 996 style coil packs. We've got the updated 997 coil packs and bolts on this car. Hold on, what's the dog doing? Oh yeah, subscribe now. Delta says thank you. Next up, coil packs then. Pretty easy really. They just have these 2 E10 star drives on them. You can use an 8mm. Seems to be more or less the same thing. They just pull out very easily. One of the least challenging things to do on these engines. We need to unplug the solenoid cable itself so it can be fed through the cylinder head cover. And then 2 10mm on the solenoid seal. You probably could get away without taking that off, but I'm going to take it off. Next then, we do have a direct oil feed IMS on this car, courtesy of TuneRS Motorsports. Hello Roberto and Miguel. We just need to disconnect that so we can take the cam cover off. The outside of this oil return pump has 2 10mm that go into the cylinder head cover that have to come out. I'm actually loosening all the bolts just to make everything loose and easy to remove. We have kind of a fun one now. We have to spike out these cam plugs with this hose removal tool. Looking at it now, I really don't think you have to spike these out and buy new ones. You probably could just take the cam cover off, let them fall out, and reuse them.
I would like if you would hit the like button.
Attaching Porsche Special Tool 9634 is our next task. Held in place by this 13mm from the muffler mount. It doesn't really have to be tight, it just has to hold it there, and that's holding the cams in place when we take the cam cover off. Spark plugs next. Using a spark plug socket on that, it has a little bit of rubber in there that kind of grips onto the spark plug. That's what it looks like. I don't know if that's good or bad, looks kind of boring. They all kind of look the same sort of way. Now before we take the cam cover off, I am going to use Porsche Special Tool 9612 and lock the engine at top dead center. Here we are removing the 23 cylinder head bolts by starting loosening on the outside and working our way towards the center. We're just trying to let the tension off those cams in a very even way. Now using a crowbar and those tabs just to get that cover off. A little dribble of oil there. And that's it. Now those spark plug tubes, you can just bop them out with your palm. It's kind of fun. Camshaft cover cleaning. With the camshaft cover off, we need to clean off all the old 5900 sealant, and you can see there, those are the two gaps. I was trying to be very careful not to put too much sealant on, and really I didn't put enough. You can see there on the other side of the cover, it's very obvious that that's why we had the leak. No surprise here, our usual combo of Scotch-Brite pads, stainless steel brushes and brake cleaner works very well at getting that cleaned up really relatively quickly, not that bad. Using a cloth there to stop any of the bits and bobs getting into the cams. Here's the cover itself, just a quick before and after on that. You don't need to see the gory details, I'm sure. Our friend Graphogen again. Graphogen is an assembly lube from England, famous for use in the Second World War and in Lotus and Rolls-Royce vehicles, amongst others. This goo was recommended to me by Lee Jenkins at Hartech UK. Thank you, Lee. Unlike last time, I'm going to be fairly sparing with the Graphogen so we don't get a Graphogen goose poop in our oil sump again.
Thank you for watching Fred Laracuente in Puerto Rico.
Really, that's it. We're at the halfway point now. We can start putting it all back together. Here's that Loctite 5900 in one of those regular glue gun dispensers. It does fit. I got a brand new 5900 from the Porsche dealer to make sure it's nice and fresh. I'm hoping the control that we get from using this glue gun applicator with the brand new tube of 5900 sealant will result in a perfect seal this time around. Just need to thread that solenoid cable through the cover and then just put the cover back in place. I got all new bolts for the cam cover, 23 of these updated E10 style bolts. As recommended by Lee Jenkins at Hartech, I am putting sealant into those center holes. Actually, this time I'm putting sealant into every hole I can find. If you're interested in more information on these heads and lifters and cams and all that schnazzle, check out episode 44 on cam timing. To tighten the cam cover bolts, we're going to start at the center and work our way out. Each of these E10s gets tightened to 10 Newton meters. Like we saw in episode 44, the spark plug tubes just push into place. Next, the solenoid seal can go on, and then a couple of 10 mils to 10 Newton meters holding that in place. Time for me to put the spark plugs back in, and I'm going to show you my mistake. I'm putting some anti-seize on there. I thought that would be good because, you know, stop them seizing. But Porsche recommend no anti-seize because it can interfere with the electrical connection of the spark plug and affect the spark. So don't do that. Also, we've used these spark plugs once already, so the first time they go to 30 Newton meters, but the second time 25 Newton meters. Porsche Special Tool 9634 can now come off with that 113mm. I did get all new cam plugs, but I'm thinking now, if I do this again, I wouldn't bother spiking them out and replacing them. I would just take the cam cover off, let the old ones fall out, and reuse them. With the cam plugs installed, I then cleaned up all that excess 5900 sealant. There's a single cam plug on the other side of the cylinder head, a total of 3 cam plugs per bank. I finished those plugs off by tapping them until they were flush with a socket and rubber mallet.
Is that the Gray Family 5? Thank you for watching!
Time now to reconnect the camshaft sensor plug to the wiring harness. The camshaft sensor and the crankshaft sensor plugs both clip into this same mounting area on the top corner of the cylinder head. Just arranging the wires and cables there so they're neat, and then pushing that clip into place. Our Tune RS Motorsports Direct Oil Feed IMS needs to get connected again. That's just an 11mm that goes onto that oil feed from that Bank 1 cylinder head.
Heat
the notification bell. It's up there.
Yes, please. It's coil pack time. We just need to push those coil packs into place and then bolt them down with those E10s to 10 Newton meters. Okay, heat shields are getting pretty close now. We have those washers on there, which I definitely didn't drop all over the floor right before I shot this. Those H5s are going to 10 Newton meters also. Woohoo, muffler mount now. Removing that little plug, it makes it easier to get that muffler mount in place. Then two 13 mils in the top, of course, two 13 mils in the bottom. And those little fellas are all going to 23 Newton meters. Okay, a final piece of the puzzle here. The muffler goes back on. Very easy indeed, really. Just line up those 3 13 mils on the muffler mount. Getting those snugged up and then tightening them to 23 Newton meters as well. And then that one 17 mil clamp gets tightened up again. And that's it. Now we can move on to bank 2. I had originally thought that the bank 2 oil leak was coming from this solenoid seal. But now, with the engine out, I can tell that the leak is actually coming from this vent pipe. Seems to be dribbling sort of into the engine there a little bit, underneath the pipe, and down the cylinder head cover, making it look like it's coming from that solenoid seal. You can see here a little closer up how it's wet there, and on the cylinder head as it flows down, and then underneath that pipe, it's kind of traveling along the pipe as well. There's just one 10 mil to remove that adapter piece from the cylinder head, and I find it much easier to remove that and then unclip the vent pipe. That adapter piece is brand new from Porsche, so I'm not worried about that. As soon as I unclip that pipe, I noticed this O-ring that came with this pipe really is probably too skinny and might not be sealing properly. Now this pipe didn't come from Porsche, it came from a company called Euro. I had been warned that the quality of Euro parts can be a little suspect, but at the time, unless I wanted to wait weeks for the part to come from Porsche, that was my only other option. Luckily enough, I just managed to catch the local parts store before they closed, and they had one O-ring that was the same diameter but thicker. We're going to try that and see if it helps. Clipping that together, it did feel much tighter. I do feel that maybe that will fix it. So that means we've got the vacuum leaks fixed and we've got both oil leaks fixed, and that just leaves the transmission, which, to be perfectly honest with you, is terrifying. But unfortunately that is all we have time for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Till next time.